One thing that has been a constant throughout history and every culture is the ghost story. Tales of the dead returned from the grave to haunt or pass a message to the living. Some are harmless, and some have a more sinister purpose. Are these tales true? I'll leave that up to you to decide. For now, it's time for 3 true ghost stories. I rented a room from a woman in central Connecticut for a period of time. The house, which was built in the 30s, had a bad vibe that revealed itself over time. The woman had been married to a man who evidently abused her. I spoke with her current boyfriend, who described the man as having an aura of evil. He also said that the neighbors had described the man as evil as well. My landlady did not say much about the dead husband, who apparently had heart problems she had to nurse him through, but some of her comments about men in general were quite revealing. I am super sensitive, quite empathic, and an emotional sponge. I began feeling a real darkness in the house, which had a great deal of clutter. I was often afraid to go downstairs at night when the woman went to visit her boyfriend. When I was in the living room, I felt someone standing next to me and fled upstairs. The house had an aura of stress and toxicity that others picked up on. In the basement, I found the words "fuck" and "blood" spray painted behind the stairs. I still have no idea what that was all about. I invited my priest to come and bless the house, which he was nice enough to do. Unfortunately, the heavy feeling in the house persisted. I often prayed over the home, as it had such a bad and increasingly negative vibe. The room I stayed in had been my landlady's former bedroom, shared with the husband. For a period of a couple weeks, I felt the room growing colder and colder. I was unable to sleep. Finally, one night, I woke up at around 4 a.m. I almost always check the clock when I wake up. I turned over to see a man, lying on his side, staring at me from the far end of the room. He had curly hair and was lying next to the round mirrored table there. All of the furniture in the room was the landlady's. I screamed bloody murder and flicked on the light. He disappeared. This is the scariest thing that has ever happened to me, and it is entirely true. I have not had a repeat incident as I moved out of the house shortly after. The capper to all of this is I asked the boyfriend of my landlady what the ex-husband's hair looked like. He told me it was dark and curly. I believe whatever I saw was either the man's ghost, or that somehow I conjured up the darkness that used to live in the home, placed there by this abusive man. I am a Christian, and I feel that my beliefs called him out, if you will. First and foremost, let me say that I have never really been a believer in the supernatural. It's not that I don't think there's more to life than what we can physically see. It's just that I've never really had a ghostly encounter, and I'm just like most ordinary people going about my business, paying bills, trying to make ends meet, and so forth. That was until Hurricane Katrina. I'm a military policeman in the Air Force Reserves in Texas. We were activated in August of 2005 at the request of our governor to help the battered state of Louisiana. Part of our job was to patrol the streets of New Orleans with food, water, and what little medication we had left to offer the citizens. And we were also there to offer transportation to those who wished to leave but were stuck without a means to travel. Contrary to what then Mayor Ray Nagin stated on TV and radio, we were not there to harass people. We were volunteers who were trying to help fellow Americans. That being said, I remember one evening we were patrolling near the 9th Ward. Not a very nice place, even before the hurricane hit. My squad and I were walking in the middle of the street, yelling out that we were military police, that we had food and water and a way out if anyone needed assistance. I could see every house had been boarded up to keep looters out, and many people spray-painted slogans on the front and sides of their homes. You loot, I shoot. And you loot, you die, were the ones that stuck out most in my mind. Slowly, some people did emerge from their homes and ask for food and water and medicine. We would give them whatever we had and ask them if they needed to be evacuated. Many refused to leave their homes for fear of losing what little they had left. Anyway, I noticed that all the houses on this one particular block had been boarded up, save one. It was a typical southern plantation-style home, which looked like it had been built around the time of the Civil War. A small figure of a little girl caught my eye as I looked up at the second floor. I smiled and waved at her, mainly to let her know that I was there to help and that she had nothing to fear. She seemed to smile and wave back from what I could tell. I called out to her to get her mommy or daddy, but she just stood there staring at me. It was then that a kind of cold shiver ran up my spine. I really couldn't understand why. It was my cop sense kicking in. 2 tours in Iraq and over 20 years as a sheriff's deputy had developed this. So when it went off, I paid attention. Just then, an elderly man on a bike rode up asking if we could help evacuate his family of 7. I told him we'd be happy to help, and I asked him if he knew anything about the little girl and her family living in the old plantation home. He looked at me kind of puzzled and asked, "What girl?" I turned around and pointed to the second floor window, but she was gone. I told him that I had just seen a little girl at the window and she waved to me. His eyes widened a little bit, and he just smiled and said, "So, you've seen her too, huh?" And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "There ain't nobody been living in that house for over 100 years. I started to protest, but he just shook his head, laughed, and walked away. As he was leaving, I could have sworn I heard him say, "Some things about New Orleans are better left unsaid." This happened last year in 2005. My ex and I used to live together, and we just transferred to another condominium unit in the same village. We used to work together, so we left and came back home together. One day, when we got home from work, we smelled something disgusting, like a dead rat of some sort. So we went to search for it. We found no dead rat, or anything where the smell could be coming from. We also noticed droplets of dirty water on the floor. We were on the ground floor of the condominium, so there's a room right above ours. The condo was built of concrete walls all over, so there's just no way that the droplets were from the walled ceiling. Another thing is, I never left the house dirty. I always tidy up. That's just the way I am. We decided to just ignore it, since we found nothing. I started getting sick every afternoon. My fever was always through the roof. I was always feeling tired. And something scary happened that night. I was hot with fever. My ex just got home from work and told me that he is suffering from LBM since the afternoon. He proceeded to the bathroom. I don't know if I was dreaming, but as soon as he left, I saw someone by the bathroom door behind an open umbrella. The funny thing is, I talked to him. He was a child. I asked him, why is he hiding? He told me that he's watching me and was worried that I might get mad at him. I asked him what he was doing at our place, and he said he was waiting for his mom. So I asked him where his mom is. He said he doesn't know, and that all he remembers is that his mom gave him a bottle of milk to drink, and he felt hot all over, and then his mom was gone. His appearance suddenly changed from being a very sweet-looking child to a very scary one. His face was scarred all over, like it was melted and burned. I could almost see his cheekbones. He then said, "He's coming, and he loves you." He then disappeared, and I heard different scary faint voices everywhere. Then the bathroom door opened, and my ex was back. I started crying frantically and told him what just happened. He said he didn't hear me talking to anyone. I checked on the time, and it was exactly midnight. I was completely freaked out of my mind. We talked to our landlady and asked her about the history of the condo. She told us that the house that used to be on the same lot where the condo is standing burnt down, and a little boy was trapped inside. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed these stories. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Do you think these stories were true? I'd be really interested to know. And you can submit your own creepy stories that you want narrated on the channel. The best way to do that is to follow me on social media. The links are in the description below. I'll be back real soon with more scary stories. Until then, I'll see you at the witching hour.